Here's an update video on the Euphrates River drying up. There is some new developments going on. I wanted to do an update in regards to this because 95% of the videos on YouTube these days about the Euphrates River is this phenomenon of AI channels and AI generated channels that are popping up. They're just pumping out consistently old information just to get views. So I wanted to do this for an update on what's actually currently going on. If we look at a recap of about the Euphrates River, we know Revelation 16:12 says the sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river, the Euphrates, and its water was dried up so that the way would be prepared for the kings of the east. And then Revelation 9:14 in relation to this as well, one saying to the sixth angel who had the trumpet, release the four angels who were bound at the great river Euphrates. So that is something that will be coming down the line here eventually. And we'll get into all that and why it's drying up and how it really doesn't matter if it's scientific or supernatural or what. That has nothing to do with the prophecy being fulfilled. But again, just to recap, there were videos that came out, a couple months ago, well, actually about a year ago at this point, of fallen angel voices allegedly recorded there at the Euphrates. I made a video on that, but that most likely was just an edited video. Some other things, some channels, I made a video in relation to this, but some channels haven't talked about this, is the Euphrates Tunnel. That was a legendary tunnel that was purportedly built between 2180 and 2160 BC under the river Euphrates to connect the two halves of the city of Babylon in Mesopotamia. Now, the Euphrates Tunnel and the existence of it has never been found, but there is talks of it in history, so it would be pretty interesting if that was found. Definitely a piece of history. As well as we have the tomb of Gilgamesh that is allegedly said to be found near the Euphrates River, or where the Euphrates River once flowed. There's an interesting article. I believe I covered this in an old video, but not sure. But this is interesting. It's BBC News, Gilgamesh tomb believed to be found. It says a German-led expedition has discovered what is thought to be the entire city of Urk, including where the Euphrates River once flowed, the last resting place of its famous king. It says, quote, let's see, it says, quote here, I don't want to say definitively it was the grave of King Gilgamesh, but it looks very similar to that described in the epic. And that was somebody who was on the team there. It says down here as well in regards to that, in the book, actually a set of inscribed clay tablets, Gilgamesh was described as having been buried under the Euphrates, in a tomb apparently constructed when the waters of the ancient river parted following his death. It says, quote, we found just outside the city an area in the middle of the former Euphrates River, the remains of such a building, which could be interpreted as a burial. So again, not completely solid that is, but pretty interesting. I mentioned before there was this email that went to Hillary Clinton that said, where's the tomb of the Nephilim? I'll put that up on screen, but it's pretty wild. So even if they did find this tomb, we know that certain people in certain positions of power absolutely want connections to the ancient Nephilim bloodline, the fallen angel bloodline tied to, of course, the giants. Gilgamesh was a giant. So even if it was found, or if that is the true story there's a high likelihood that was covered up because, they want that because they want that fallen DNA, truly, maybe even to create the Antichrist as some type of clone created being. Not impossible. Something that's always also brought up as well is talks of the gold in the Euphrates River. This is, again, something that's in the Quran. So for any Muslims who may watch this, if that never is found and it looks like the end is happening and the Euphrates is completely dried up or in certain spots, and we see these kings and warring crossing the Euphrates, time to trust in the Bible, because there was no mountain of gold found, in which in the prophecy in the Hadith, I believe, which Muslims believe to be from God, it says that 99 out of every 100 people who fight to get that gold from that mountain of gold in the Euphrates will die. So just like just a little thing for Muslims that I hope if they see that day come and there's no mountain of gold, time to trust in the original manuscripts, the Bible. So updates in regards to the Euphrates River are the droughts and dams continuing to go on. Now they say, of course, stuff related to the climate. In some articles, they say it's the climate, that's why the river's drying up. You know, the Middle East is a desert, so it shouldn't be a surprise when like water is a scarce resource. But of course, we can relate it to the climate, even though we're not seeing that. That's a different story. But here we have in relation to the dams and the crisis tied to the Tigris River and the Euphrates River. This is on the nationalinterest.org website. Iraq's water scarcity comes back to its geography. It sits in an intricate intersection of water resources, the Tigris and the Euphrates River, originating in the neighboring Turkey and Iran. And we see these nations, Turkey and Iran, damming up the water supply. It says here that diversions that diminish the flows downstream are devastating Iraq's water supply. There was protests recently in Baghdad drawing attention to the delicate balance needed among the nations to share the water. So what it looks like causing the drying up of this river is the dams upstream. We have more articles recently put out, this on FLS Science, talking about the same thing. Here it says, although once a fruitful land, the Tigris Euphrates River system is now drying up at a startling rate. A government report by the Iraq Ministry of Water Resources in 2021 warned that the rivers could run dry by 2040 due to declining water levels, droughts driven by climate change. Well, then in these same similar articles, they talk about how Iran and Turkey are damming up the river. So is it the climate, or is it most likely the dams upstream? And that's what it says here as well, that, you know, some of these rivers are having half the water flow as previous years, but truly it's in relation to the dams upstream. Here's another article, foreignpolicy.com. The cradle of civilization is drying up. Climate change endangers Tigris and Euphrates River, but it's not the only reason the rivers are vanishing. So, you know, they blame it on climate change one second, then show massive dams upstream and say, well, it's actually being dammed. And so, but what we're seeing is in Iraq, people are standing up to try to get more of that water from upstream where it's being dammed, because they're kind of using it as like as a weapon to keep the water from Iraq and these different nations who they're not necessarily friends with. But again, to always point back to the fact, you know, the prophecies say the river's going to dry up. People always say, who don't believe in the Bible, they're damming the river upstream, that's why, or the climate's changing, that's why the river's drying up. The Bible didn't say the river's just going to magically disappear into space one day or just float away and you'll never see it again. The fact that it's happening by means on earth has nothing to do with the fact that the prophecy is being fulfilled. I mean, what are the odds of guys in caves with just making up prophecies about the future saying, well, maybe the Euphrates River will dry up, and then it starts to happen 2,000 years later. So it's just important to keep that in mind. It doesn't matter how the prophecies start to unfold, but when they do, you know, that's not a coincidence. No other religion has that, or any other belief from God has that in the world. So that's truly what is going on right now. It's important to be close with God as these things start to unfold. We'll see how fast they continue from this point. But yes, there is more drying up of the river going on, more nations talking about how they need more of that water, and it's continuing to dry up, truly. And so that's what we're seeing. These last articles were from 2023. And so, yeah, prophecy seems to be unfolding. So keep your life right with Jesus Christ. Follow him. He is the one way to have a fulfilled life here and to live with him forever in heaven. Pray you all are well. Thanks for watching, and God bless.